Warning, this video was filmed before the move. Some of the dates and commentary mentioned might be outdated by the time of the release of this video. Now sit back, grab a snack, and shut the F up. The show is about to begin.
Hello and welcome back to Does It Go Hard, the show where we review movies, video games, and more. So some of you might have already noticed, but I've been missing out on so many movies to talk about. And you know what? I decided that today was the day that I'm going to be talking about all these different movies that have come out. Now I know some of you might have expected individual videos for some of these, especially Dune and Kung Fu Panda, but I just said, you know what? Fuck it, let me just cram all of these movies into one video just to make my life a little bit easier, okay? Just please bear with me. But enough of this chit chat, it is time to finally talk about our first film. And oh boy, I've been so excited to talk to you guys about this one.
Nothing fancy.
Dune Part 2, oh my god, where do I even start? This film is a fucking masterpiece. I absolutely love it. So first off, I need to establish how I felt about Dune Part 1. I absolutely loved it. Now, I understand that it's a movie that definitely works better now with the second part out. Still, as a standalone film, the world building, the characters, special effects, everything about that first film is amazing. And it is definitely a great starting point for this new grand adventure that we are being introduced to. Dune Part 2 had some pretty big expectations to meet, and holy shit, it met every single one of those expectations. Everything I mentioned from the first part that I love is just here, but done 100 times better. Like, incredible. The characters are more fleshed out. The story is just on another fucking level of grandiose and epic. The special effects are gorgeous. It's amazing. This is a really beautiful looking film, not only in the visual effects department, but in the cinematography and the directing. Everything about it is just amazing. Now, this film does end in a point where it kind of alludes to a third part, and honestly, if we don't get this third part, I'm going to go absolutely fucking ballistic at Warner Brothers. David Zaslav, don't you fucking dare. I swear to God, if I find out that we don't get Dune Part 3 because of your stupid ass, I'm going to fucking explode. So yes, obviously, Dune Part 2 goes hard. This movie goes so fucking hard. This movie fucks so much. I love it. If you haven't watched it, what the fuck are you still doing here? Get out of here and go watch Dune Part 2. It's not a request, it's an order.
May thy knife chip and shatter.
I'm not gonna be the Dragon Warrior anymore?
You will advance to spiritual leader of the Valley of Peace.
Yes, I also watched Kung Fu Panda 4, and yeah, that was definitely Kung Fu Panda 4. First off, I need to clarify that I absolutely love the Kung Fu Panda series. I love those three films. I think they're amazing. So to say that I had some pretty high expectations for Kung Fu Panda 4, it's kind of an understatement. I was really looking forward to this. And after watching it, I was very conflicted on it. At first, I was like, you know what? This is not bad. And in fact, I actually had quite a bit of fun with it. It's still pretty funny. It's still pretty charming. It still has some great fight sequences in it. But at the same time, I feel like it just didn't meet the same level as the first three films. And after sitting on it and really thinking about it, I kind of had this feeling of feeling very unsatisfied. I guess the best word to describe the film is that it is kind of disappointing. It's not as good as any of the first three films. And it does suffer a bit of sequelitis syndrome, where it kind of repeats a lot of things, where it brings back certain elements from past films that in concept kind of is cool, like bringing back the older villains like Tai Lung, Lord Shen, and Kai. I think could have been a really cool concept and a great idea, but it's kind of used poorly, especially with this new villain, the Chameleon. The new character, Zen, which is supposed to be the new Dragon Warrior, I thought she was fine. Awkwafina does an alright job with this character, though there were some times where I was kind of not feeling annoyed towards her, but I was just not vibing with her as much as some of the other characters. Also, this movie doesn't have the Furious 5, which in my opinion, I don't really mind. I don't really care. The Furious 5, as the series kind of went on, they became more and more secondary characters more than like main characters, especially by the third film. They're like completely gone. They're like absent up until like the end of the film. And even then, they don't even get any lines. They just kind of appear there to be like, hey, we're here. This movie was pretty disappointing. If I would rate it something, it would definitely be meh. This movie is just a big meh. Again, it's not a bad film by any means. It's not terrible, but it's not one that I'm going to revisit anytime soon. And as much as the things that I liked, I really enjoyed it, it was not enough to save itself from all of its flaws, unfortunately.
Skadoosh. Stand back. I'm gonna kick my butt.
They don't have to like each other. They just have to work together.
Now I have seen everything.
Godzilla x Kong: The New Empire. Now, I will say something that was kind of funny. This movie came out alongside Ghostbusters: Frozen Empire, which is a movie that I love. I know you can judge me all you want, fuck you, I don't care. But I just thought it was hilarious how these two films came out almost kind of like at the same time, almost like for a week apart from each other, and both have the word empire in their title, and both of them kind of have something ice related to them. I won't spoil it for Godzilla x Kong. If you know, you know. I just thought it was funny to point out just the really odd similarities that these two have. The Monsterverse is one that I find particularly interesting because right now it is possibly the only cinematic universe that is actually kind of successful. Now, I have a bit of a rough history with the Monsterverse. There's a few things that I like, mainly the stuff that has Kong as the focus, but if Godzilla is the focus, I kinda either don't love it or absolutely fucking hate it. But let me tell you, this film was actually a lot of fun. I had such a fucking blast with this one. Let me get this straight, okay? This movie is absolutely ridiculous. Like, it's stupid as shit. It is so illogical in so many ways. Everything that happens in this movie is out of pure convenience. It's very Saturday morning cartoonish, to say the least. But that's one of the things that makes it fun. Not only that, but I love that the movie really makes the monsters its main focus. The human characters in this film are also a little bit more entertaining to watch than usual. Now again, that doesn't mean that they're incredible. This is a fun ride with funny, like, human characters that are very simple but fun nonetheless. And the monster action and monster madness, it's what really elevates this movie more than usual. I guess the best way that I could describe this film, especially comparing it to something like Godzilla Minus One, Godzilla Minus One is like a delicious filet mignon, clean, fancy restaurant dinner. It's just perfect. It's beautiful. Then we have Godzilla x Kong. This is more like Little Caesars. Now you might say, Little Caesars? Well, what's a fucking insult? Here's the thing though. I love Little Caesars. So to me, this is like the biggest compliment I'm giving to the movie. So the rating that I would give this film would be a simple goes raw. It's not a perfect film, and it does have its issues that sometimes are a little bit egregious, I'm not gonna lie. Like I said, a lot of the things that happen in this movie are out of pure convenience. What really saves it is the monsters. There is like a 15-minute to 20-minute sequence that is only about monsters, mainly Kong discovering that he's not the only one that's left. That's done purely with growling and roaring and no human dialogue interrupting it, and that alone pushed it to a goes raw.
And this is my hero's journey.
The Fall Guy! Now when I first heard the title of this movie, I was like, they're making a movie on the Fall Guys game? But no, idiot. In fact, this is actually based on an old TV show of the same name. Now, I'm not gonna pretend I know anything about this show. This movie is a rom-com that has a lot of action in it, that also has like this very strange plot about murder mystery. It's a really crazy film. Now you might be saying, wait a minute, rom-comedy action film with the murder mystery? What the fuck is this movie? This movie's actually really fucking great. It does have a few issues, mainly the villains. This movie has some really cookie cutter, stupid ass villains that are just annoyingly pathetic, which should be funny, but they're not. But what really makes this movie is not only the action sequences. Most of the action sequences in this film are actually practical. Even think Ryan Gosling did some of his own stunts in this film. Not all of them, but I feel like he did mention that he wanted to do at least more of them than usual, which was absolutely cool. Surprisingly, the rom-com element was amazing in this movie. I love the chemistry that Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt have in this film. Ryan Gosling in general is just a charming motherfucker. Like, he's so fucking adorable. When he's not acting like a badass in a movie, he's legitimately like a sweet guy. This movie has great action sequences. It actually has a love story that works and is effective and is actually very sweet and funny. And in general, This movie's just a great comedy. It's actually legitimately funny. The trailer really did give me a wrong impression. I know that this is a bit of an unpopular opinion, but I'm not a big fan of Bullet Train, which is from the same director as this. But I know so many people that really like Bullet Train. To me personally, it was just a little bit too much, but I don't hate it. It's not a film that I hate. But here, I feel like everything was very well balanced in this film. So if I was gonna give a rating to this film, it would definitely be a standard goes raw. It's a fun movie, it's a fun action rom-com film that honestly a lot more people should watch. I saw that it was not doing great at the box office. It's such a shame because it's actually legitimately a great film. More people should give it a chance. So if you have some time to spare and you're in the mood to watch a fun action comedy film, this is it right here, dude.
Okay, maniac. This stuntman's crazy.
There you are. You are a beast.
Monkey Man! This movie was actually very well recommended to me by a cousin of mine. If she's watching this video, thank you so much because holy shit, I fucking actually really like this film. Now, I do have some small issues with it. Let me just get the positives out of the way because holy shit, this movie is legitimately so fucking awesome. Now, I know some people have been comparing it to John Wick, and I feel like it's actually a disservice to the film. In my opinion, the movie is almost like a slightly better John Wick, if you're asking me, and I love John Wick. Now, yes, it's a revenge story almost in the same vein as the first John Wick film, but I feel like in this film in particular, the revenge aspect of it does have a bit more of an impact to it, and it definitely feels very personal. I'm not saying that it wasn't personal in John Wick, but there's also like a silly level to it. As the sequels go on, it's like John Wick almost fucking forgets that he's doing this because of a fucking dog. In Monkey Man, he has a goal, and he's going to do everything in his fucking power to get to that goal. Now, this movie is not only starred by Dev Patel, but it's also his directorial debut. And actually, for a moment, this movie almost just was kind of dropped on streaming. But Jordan Peele watched it and loved it so much that said, you know what? No, none of that streaming shit. My company is going to produce this shit and we are gonna put this on as many big screens as possible. And also as a directorial debut for Dev Patel, he did a fucking amazing job, honestly. The fight scenes are so well choreographed and directed. And that's another thing, the fight scenes and the violence in this film has a point to it. It's yeah, sometimes it is flashy, it is to kind of brag a bit, but for the most part there is something to the fight scenes, and there is a meaning to the violence. It's not just mindless violence for the sake of it. The acting is great. Now, one thing that I will say that it is a negative to me personally, because that is a little bit of a gripe with me with some of these types of movies. The villains, again, are kinda dumb. They feel very cartoonishly stupid. Like, if you've ever watched like something like Batman the Animated Series, and when you see Batman fight a bunch of goons, and how always these goons are like the dumbest human beings imaginable, it's like it's like that in a way, where all the goons or all the bad people in this film are ridiculously, like, obliviously stupid. Not only that, but there's a couple of flashbacks here and there to the main character's past and kind of what motivates him to really go on this revenge path of his. At first I was like, oh, that's cool, but they do it a little bit too much. They remind you of his past constantly, and they tell you his motivation a lot throughout the film, and it's like, I get it, you've been saying the same shit for the entire runtime of this film, and it's getting a bit annoying. So for that alone, the movie is definitely a high goes raw. Again, because of those few issues I have with it, I can't quite give it a goes hard, just for the great directing, the great acting performance that Dev Patel gives, but also those fight scenes. Holy shit, the choreography in this film is absolutely fucking insane. Please, for the love of God, give this film a chance.
Yeah. It is our time, and it is my kingdom.
And we are at the end of the finish line with Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. What a perfect film to end this whole thing on. I'm a pretty big fan of the recent Planet of the Apes trilogy with Rise, Dawn, and War. 3 amazing films with great directing, great acting, great writing, great characters, just the complete package with this entire trilogy. So when they announced that they were gonna make a 4th one, I can't lie that I was pretty worried and hesitant about it at first. Could this really live up to the expectations of the Caesar trilogy? I am so glad to say that this movie is not only good, it's pretty fucking fantastic if you ask me. Now, is it perfect? No, there's definitely a few things here and there that you could definitely nitpick at, or there are very minor complaints, but at the same time, I don't want to hold it too much against it because it is the start of a new story. Caesar is no longer around, so now we're trying to set up new characters and trying to see where these characters are gonna go on in the future. And right now, I'm actually pretty excited where things are going. One thing that these movies just not miss is with the visual effects. Holy shit, these movies have always been really impressive when it comes to the CGI and all the visual effects with both practical and CG, especially the apes. Half the time I'm rewatching these movies, I forget that I'm watching actors with mocap suits on. I get so invested that I actually believe that I'm looking at these apes actually acting on camera. But that just kind of showcases how amazing these visual effects are and the hard work that comes from the actors really putting in the effort to act like actual primates. It's really impressive to look at. But the visual effects aren't the only good thing here. This movie also has a really good story with great characters. Noah, our new main character, is kind of the replacement for Caesar this time around, and it's a little bit hard to adjust to it because we're used to seeing Andy Serkis as Caesar. We're used to that character. But right now, I'm actually really enjoying Noah as a main character. I think he's really good. He has a lot of personality. I love the friends that he hangs out with. The chemistry between those 3 is actually legitimately fun to look at. There's this other character that gets introduced maybe halfway through the film called Raka that I really enjoy. He's also kind of the replacement for Maurice. He's the character that kind of gives the most exposition about the world and even the past films in some regard, but it doesn't really feel invasive because the way that they go about it really feels like a mythos. But man, I feel like the big standout in this film was the villain. Proximus Caesar is fucking great. He is the best character in the film. Not only is he intimidating as shit, but he also kind of plays into that whole leader of a religious cult. He kind of tries to spread the word of Caesar, but he's kind of twisted it in a way to, wait a minute, that's not what Caesar really wanted for apes and humans. This guy is full of shit. Now, if I had to come up with a few complaints personally, the human characters here are very hit or miss for me. There's one human character specifically that does play a big role in the movie, especially later on, and I don't dislike her. I actually really enjoy her character. But right now, I'm just not very sure where they're going with the humans in this new, I guess, trilogy is what it's gonna be. Also, I do believe that the climax goes a little bit too quickly, and it takes place in a setting that is not very good for me for a climax. But other than that, I think that this is a great addition to an already perfect trilogy, in my personal opinion. So my rating for Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes is going to be a high Ghost Rod. If you can still see it in theaters, if it's even still in theaters, definitely go watch it. It is totally worth it. I did it! I was able to talk about a bunch of films in one video. Hope you enjoyed this catch-up video. I know that it might be a little bit disappointing that maybe you were expecting an individual review for each one of these. Please understand the situation I am. Please bear with me with this one. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. What do you think of any of the movies that I talked about here? Did you love them? Did you hate them? Or are you just kind of in the middle? You can even rank them down in the comments. Which are your favorites? Which do you like the most? Which do you like the least? And like always, good day, good night, and stay safe.